Welcome you all. Today we are going to talk about functionalism. This approach is one of the schools of linguistics, and this topic is from the Contents and Introduction to Linguistics Semester 2. According to this approach, that language has actually its function while we use its form. For example, here is the picture. This child, she says, once upon a time there was a vampire. Actually, she imaginates and she uses this language. So exactly this is called imaginative function of language, that a child, she thinks about a vampire, so uses language to tell stories, jokes, or create imaginary world. This is exactly what functionalism is all about. So without a further go, let's get started our today's topic from the recommended books. Functionalism, in a very shorter terms, it refers to the structure of language as being driven by its function. That language structure is to be um, made just because of its function. Hymes in 1972 developed a functional model that focuses on the use of language and how it functions on discourse. So, according to Hymes in 1972, who developed this functional model, who said in discourse, language has its own function. For example, informal conversation with own friend versus formal conversation with a lecturer. So, informal and formal use of language in different two situations certainly has its function in discourse. Function is ability to use language in various contexts. For example, sit down. Would you like to sit down? Please sit down. So, actually, the message is same, but there is a difference in its function. When we say sit down, this is an order. Or if someone who says, would you like to sit down? This is a question. And please sit down. This is a request. So every structure of language has its own function. Sometimes it is an order, it is a question, it is a request. So these forms give different functions in language. Can I sit on the chair? May I sit on the chair? So informal and formal permission. So the same language or message, but having different functions. Functionalism in linguistics, the approach to language study that is concerned with the functions performed by language, primarily in terms of cognition, relating to information, expression, indicating mood, and conation, exerting influence. So there are certain functions of language according to this text, and those functions could be related to mind, those could be related to our mood. Sometimes we express our mood through language, or sometimes we what we think about we express with others. So these are certain functions of language, especially associated with the Prague School of Linguists, prominent since 1930s. The approach enters on how elements in various languages accomplish these functions, both grammatically and phonologically. Some linguists have applied the findings to work on stylistics and literary criticism. So when we talk about functionalism, it is actually associated with Prague School of Linguists, and according to them, that language is used just to make a function or accomplish a function, and those could be accomplished through grammatical structure of language or its sounds. And according to this chunk or this text, that some linguists have applied the findings to work on stylistics and literary criticism as well. In Europe, there are two schools of thought when we talk about functionalism. Number one is Prague School, and number two is Copenhagen School. Prague School, it was found in 1926. There are two of its most influential members, Roman Jakobson and Nikolaj Trubetskov, according to John Lane's books. And when we talk about Copenhagen School, it was found by Halliday in 1975. So these are two different schools or thoughts in functionalism, Prague School and Copenhagen School, and two different thoughts. Actually, they talk about functionalism, but to some extent differently. These two linguists have come across different functions of language according to them. Here, when we talk about Prague School, according to Prague School, there are six functions of language. Number one is referential function. According to Prague School, that language has or any message requires a context. And number two, expressive function. Sometimes we express our emotions through language. Number three is conative, engages the addressee receiver directly. Tom, come inside the house. So here we are addressing someone directly. So this is one of the functions of language. Poetic, we express our thoughts or feelings through poetry. And number five is phatic. Phatic is physical channel and physiological connection between the addresser and the addressee. Enter or stay in conversation. Hello, okay. So these are certain expressions we use through language or through physical expressions. Number six is metalingual. And the metalingual function of language is the ability of language to talk about its own features. Thus, talking about phrasal verbs in English will be an instance of metalingual function. So, language expresses itself, or language expresses its own features, or its own principles, laws. For example, when we talk about phrasal verbs and how they are and what are their meanings, so we are actually talking about language itself. So this is one of the functions of language according to Prague. These are actually the six functions of language. On the other hand, when we talk about Copenhagen School, Holiday 1975, like Saussure sees language as a social and cultural phenomena, as opposed to a biological one like Chomsky. Some of Holiday's early work involved the study of his son's developing language abilities. So here Holiday was actually studying the functions of language and he studied on his own son. Holiday identifies seven functions that language has for children in their early years. So according to him, that language has seven functions. We are going to study these seven functions later. Children are motivated to acquire language because it serves certain purpose for them. And the first four functions help the child to satisfy physical, emotional, and social needs. So here we are going to talk about those seven functions of language. Another element for Holiday's functionalist theory are the seven functions of language, which were designed to reflect the various conversational interactions that children develop during language acquisition. They are listed below. Number one is instrumental, number two, regulatory, instructional, personal, heuristic, imaginative, and representational. So there are a number of sentences I have used to show that what are these functions according to Holiday. Thanks for attention. Thank you very much. Hopefully this would be very helpful for all of you.